but I will say this is why I got convinced about the whole immersion thing. Is that I do teach an English school, and I've told this story before. I teach an English school. It's a small one, but there's a program in Japan. I guess it's like a Disney English program where parents will pay. It's like $10,000, really expensive, but it essentially gives it something where they can show their kids Disney cartoons and shows since they're from being a baby. So basically, these Japanese kids are watching American shows before they can even speak Japanese. So they're being immersed in English. Mm-hmm. And what shocked me is that there's this 8-year-old girl, and if you talk to her, you would just think she was a native English speaker. All right, but her parents don't speak English at all, and this girl has never left Japan. She's only lived in Japan, and just sounds like and the way I say it, like I try to tell her mom that it's like I can't teach her English. She knows English. What you do is you teach her stuff in English. So that's when it's like get her to an international school, where she can learn stuff while using English, like you're doing, like with English, like you're having fun in English, playing video games. Make sense? But I've seen some other children, like her brother, 4 years old. He wasn't speaking, but like a lot of kids at 4 years old don't speak, so that's not a problem. But if I could tell him complicated instructions in English, and he would follow it, no problem. Whereas every other kid would look at me with a blank stare. So he was where I got the belief that most likely she was the same way. She got to a high level of comprehension, and then when she started finally doing output, whenever it was natural for her, it sounded fluent. I mean, it was like a native. Yeah. Like again, now problem is we're not kids. We're not kids, and so our comprehension. So the way we might be, I don't think we're gonna be able to repeat that as adults, but there is something you could make use of. That's the immersion. Like the more comprehensible you immerse in, the more you get to the point where you're like, you notice something's wrong, even if you can't describe it, you can't put to words. You comprehend it to that level. That's going to be what I'm wanting to build up to. Is like, and again, I don't read enough. But I think people have seen it where, like, I've written enough kanji where I write a kanji just doesn't feel right. Like I'll say that something feels wrong, so I try to rewrite it. For example, that's what you want to do is like build up the muscle memory or visual memory or whatever it is. You got the active conscious part and then the unconscious part of it that does the stuff faster. But there's a couple of videos on that about when it comes to reading, like even in English, if you change the text where now it becomes hard to read, people will pick up on like a purposeful mistake, like let's say a gag or something that was in the sentence. But if it was like a regular sentence with regular fonts, your brain is so quick at putting stuff together. It sees 5 letters, it sees the first and last letter, it knows like, okay, I know what that word is, even though actually there was something wrong with the word. Mm-hmm. But you change the font, all of a sudden the brain has to think actively. Then it starts noticing mistakes in the text. That's again an example of us with English. That's why you have to consume so much Japanese and consume so much of it where you notice if something's wrong, which means also if you start speaking, you'll notice, hey, I'm saying that wrong. That doesn't sound right. Like if you said, like Takai, and he said Takasa, he's like, Takasa, that sounds wrong. It's Takasa.
Anyways, yeah, but like I've discussed this in a video with Eric that I released not long ago on my channel, where we just talked about how it's like it's such a loose definition of like what a native speaker is, or like a native level speaker is. I don't think it even like for the majority of people it's just going to be impossible. So might as well not really think about sounding exactly like a native. Just like try to get as close to it as you can or as you're willing to. So like I have my strategy recently has been to just like consume content as if like I don't even think of it as like studying anymore. I'm just using the language. I have a Japanese friend. I'm just using the language with him. I like watching anime, so I'm just using my knowledge of Japanese to watch. I like certain YouTube channels, so I'm just using my language to watch them. To me, that's no longer studying. That's just I'm using the language, right? It's like I guess it's a kind of a fine line between where you're still practicing and where you're just using the skill, right? So I think I'm
Yeah.
I'm like I'm transitioning towards just using it at this point. So yeah, I don't like the only active study I do is every once in a while I'll sit down and learn new kanji, learn uh, a few vocab or grammar points that are important, and that's it.
Hmm.
Everything else is just me using my knowledge of Japanese. And
Yeah. So
recently that I've been having so much fun with that because it's so like gratifying. I feel like this is it. This is what I've been working towards for almost 5 years, and now I'm finally able to just use my knowledge of the language. Of course, it's like it's very variable depending on the content that I'm consuming. If
hmm
it's a book, I have to look up stuff, but I'm okay with that. I have to look up stuff in Russian and English too, by the way. I am very kind of OCD about not understanding something. So, and in books, you very often see new words because there are more difficult words that are not used in speech usually. Um, so I have to look up stuff in Russian and in English still. So that's no different. I just have to do it a bit more in Japanese.
you do look up words in with Japanese definitions first, then you switch to English if
Not
need be,
really.
right?
No, I just look it up in a dictionary, but I don't fixate on the translation. I just get an idea, and then from hearing the word over and over, I'll get the Japanese idea of the
Okay.
word and I'll acquire it.
I will make a recommendation if you can figure out how to get a Japanese to Japanese definition into under your belt. I think you'll find that's going to be fun and useful. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
All right. So I recommend that. Now electronic's easier than paper, but that's up to you. Now I wanted to show you something. You saw me doing Attack on Titan today,
Yeah.
and you were mentioning about learning kanji. So are you using remembering the kanji
No.
as a format? Right?
I don't like the order.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So I wanted to show you something. Now this is just something that was um, happened to come up. Now it was I think it was Tsunaji or I forgot the word for it, but this was the kanji, right? And it
Uh-huh.
looks like it's probably backwards. Is that backwards?
No, it's not.
So it's foot. So that's horse hoof, right? So I can memorize kanji, but I don't know the word for it. It's like a tsunaji or something like that. Then of course there was and again I forgot the word, but I'm just remembering what you had said today. And it's like about how we're just having fun. We're not really studying, but by doing it, you are learning. So like this came up today. Let's see right there as well. Okay, and that's winnowing or neighing. Because remember, these two words come up because what were they doing today? They were on their horses, in that formation, trying to get to this location. They're being attacked by the Titan, right?
Mhm.
Hey, that's the title of the. Sorry. So I'm saying, like, what you're doing, you're not calling it studying, and that's good, but you are learning, and you're having fun.
Yeah, I am
So
learning.
you know what?
Yeah. But
And
I'm learning when I read a Japanese, or I mean, when I read a Russian or English book, I'm also learning.
yep, there you go. And the more you consume, the better you're going to get. And it sounds like 40% of your consumption's coming in the form of Japanese, 6% in English, and you've got a variety of things that you're interested in, and you're learning stuff. You're having fun because that's where because you have interest in all these things. So you're watching it for fun. You would do it in English, but instead you're just doing it in Japanese.
Yeah.
And that's what AJAP was really about, all Japanese all the time. But to get to that point, you had to build up at a level. And I think the failure is that they were trying to push that immersion part early on instead of like, look, you got to build that base first, then the immersion is going to be a lot more effective. You're going to get more out of it. Like, not only are you going to have fun, but you're going to learn stuff. Even if it's not the primary goal, you're going to learn regardless.
Mhm.
Now,
Somebody
I
is
was
saying
mentioning,
in the comments that we have two different goals with Japanese. I would just say my goal has always been to learn to be able to speak to Japanese people, to understand content in Japanese, and to just enjoy the culture by knowing the language. That has always been my goal.
my goal is to date as many Japanese women as possible. That pisses my wife off to no end. No, it's I don't. It's not a goal. It's just I live in Japan. I plan to live in Japan just because of first world country. You can live here comfortably, and it's easier to live here if you know the language. And part of the thing that got me started was I looked at kanji, and kanji was a very structured it was like the most easiest part of learning Japanese was kanji, the physical writing of the kanji and whatnot. The hardest part was learning how to use kanji in Japanese words. That's where the problem lies, and it's something that, it's just that's going to be a trouble for anybody. So that's fine, especially when it's a fucking kunyomi word. Oh my god. Onyomi, right? You probably have not only the word, you have the meaning given to you with the onyomi almost.
Yeah.
And you have the pronunciation given to you on it. So you can be but kunyomi, and it's still important to learn these, you've got to do a lot more effort. And because we're going from intermediate to advanced, so you've probably got 6,000, 7,000 words under your belt, I assume. I know it's hard to gauge.
I don't really count them, and as we discussed in my comments, like, I don't really like to think of the words because everyone has their own definition of what a word is.
Yeah.
Because I have some rough count where it's like a bit over 4,000, but I'm very strict with mine. I don't include Nihongo as separate from Nihon. To me, that's the same thing because you're just adding a suffix to it. So because I'm very strict, my count is at something like 4,000. And also that does not include grammar words because I couldn't be bothered counting those.
Okay. And also some compound words feel like it's almost like it's obvious from what they are. You know?
Yeah.
Like surete. Yeah. We add surete or sure to some word, but don't worry about that. I'm just saying, really, based on what your level is, especially into, you probably got about 6,000 words that a text analyzer would look at. It'll give you that number. Don't sweat that. I'm not saying sweat that. Don't sweat that. I'm just saying same reason. So that's when reason also is like when you think kanji, there's vocabulary. No, kanji was 500, 500, 500, 500. It was pretty straightforward. It's kind of scary how straightforward that was. But with vocabulary, it's different. Vocabulary would be like, so hiragana, katakana, 1,000 words. Cool. Don't worry. You can learn 1,000 words out of kanji. No problem, if you wanted to. And if they do use kanji, it's any of one of the first 150 most common. Cool. All right. So what I'm saying, hiragana, katakana, 1,000 words. Cool. Then the 500 kanji, which are 75%, but then 1,500 words. So now you got 500 kanji and 2,500 words. Those 2,500 words are about 60%. Maybe a little higher. Then the next 500 kanji and then 2,000 words. So now you have 4,500 words. Now you're around about 75%. Then another 500 kanji and 2,500 words. So now you're up around 7,000 vocabulary, which is where you're at now. I'm assuming you're probably around there. And again, that's, I want to say 75%. Probably a little more than that because because your knowledge of the basics are there, you can figure out words even if that are actually new words to you, but the instant you see it, you know what it means.
Yeah. I've had that a lot. Okay.
But you couldn't come up with it. And you don't want to be creative as in when you come speaking, that's why knowing these words as being their own set thing. Because the most dangerous thing, this, is when you try to make up something new. Like try to describe a point, you're going to say it in the wrong way. The most famous is like, don't say open an umbrella directly in Japanese. Okay. Or don't say take a bath. You would enter a bath. Right.
Yeah.
For example.
Well, I always, what I do when I'm speaking to like my Japanese friend, I always make sure to doubt myself at every opportunity. And if I hear any like sense of like confusion, I always ask, was that not natural? And then they tell me like, and because I have a good enough friend who will like tell me if I am saying something weird, he will kind of tell me what's the more natural way of saying it. I even had that today.
Perfect. And what I'm saying, like with you with kanji, don't worry about remembering the kanji. What you're doing is like whether you're using remembering the kanji or not. I don't know if you care about writing. Now, I think if you want to learn to write kanji from memory, remembering the kanji is great. One, or here's the better way: is get the Tango decks or the Core 2K 6K decks, and just get the words that have kanji, and then play the audio and then write the word from just by listening to the audio. Does that make sense? That'd be a good way of training.
I already kind of have a system that sort of works.
If you're training writing, because kanji is its own thing. Yeah.
Now, I already kind of have a system for that sort of works where I have my Kanji Anki deck. I think I have it's still like way lower than what it should be, but I have like maybe 1,520 kanji still.
Right.
And as soon as I'm done with the backlog of new words that I had before I stopped fussing so much about writing down the words, as soon as I'm done with that, well, I'll go more into kanji. And the way I do it is I have.
Okay. Oh, so you're actually, that's what I was going to ask. How do you do it? So,
yeah. So the way I do it is I have just the kanji on one side of the card, nothing else.
So that's the question. The question is the kanji. Okay.
Yeah. And then the answer is the readings of it and the meanings of it. And I
would say don't do that. I would say don't do that at all. Do that with words. Just have a word there. If you know how to pronounce a word, then you know it's onyomi or kunyomi. Make sense? Do you have an Anki deck where it just shows a word, and do you know how to pronounce that word?
Yeah.
Yeah, then that's your recognition. That's called, by the way, that's called recognition cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So just have this Japanese word, and do you know how to pronounce it? And what you could have, it could be multiple words. Like, here are the 3 words. What's the onyomi for that happen to have the same onyomi? What's that onyomi? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I do it in context anyways, really, because I don't ever, like, because I have all of the dictionary definitions and readings, but I only ever focus on the ones that I know from the vocab I've learned containing that kanji. The issue is, it would be way more convenient if I went back and, like, if from the beginning I started adding in at least one example word with the kanji, with like maybe a blank space. So I'm like, oh, okay, it's this word that means this. How do I write this kanji? But now I have all of these kanji, and I would have to go through all of them and correct all of that.
No, you won't. I can make that for you, dude. I can hook you up. Come on, man. We're brothers. Come on.
Really? Is there a way to do that?
Yeah. Now let me show you my kanji deck. Reason why I'm saying, like, there's. What I worry about kanji is, like, can I write the word from memory? Or can I write the kanji from memory? That's the only thing I really care about with my kanji deck. Now, but if you're caring about the onyomi, kunyomi, I'm saying don't do that.
I don't. I just care about the words.
Then definitely just make sure that. But you said you had a kanji deck where it's just the kanji on front, and you needed the onyomi.
Yeah, but that's I just started doing it like that.
I recommend don't even. If you just started, just fucking stop. Just fucking. If you got a deck that here's a word and you need to know how to pronounce the word and what it means, you got it, and you got the context sentence as well. That's more than enough.
Well, I have my other deck for that, kind of, where I have a normal Japanese deck where it's kind of intermixed between various grammar points, sentences, and the vocab, where it's vocab and then dash and the reading of the vocab and then the meaning. So if I get the meaning, I have to know how it's read and how to write it. And if I get the writing and reading, I have to remember what it means. That's it.
Okay. Now, mine is slightly different. Now, so I have a kanji deck and I have a vocabulary deck. And then also I have what's called the sentence mining deck, my Morphman deck. For the vocabulary deck, I have two sides. There are two types of cards. The first one is it plays the audio of the word in the example sentence. And for that, I'm not forcing myself, but I try to visualize how to write the word in my head. I don't write it out physically. And do I know what the word means? Do I know what that sentence means? Does that make sense? That's the audio card.
Mm-hmm.
The other is I see the word and I see the sentence. Do I know how to pronounce the word? Do I know how to read the sentence? It's pretty much it. Okay, now you're seeing this. Now this can change. I can put all these Japanese words. I can put all that at the top if I want to. That could be the question side. And then this could be underneath. But anyway, you got boken, boto, botoku, okashi, right? And you see, all I'm worried is, like, can you write this kanji from memory? Does this make sense?
Yeah, that's an awesome system.
What I did is I took the top 6 vocabulary words that use that kanji.
So you didn't even do this manually? Wow.
No, fuck no. Now that means there's going to be some mistakes, but anyway, this is, by the way, so this is sun over I. So sun, nichi, and me. But that's bo. Make sense? Now here's the answer, by the way. Let me just show you the answer. Now you're not memorizing these words. These words are there, so if you already know them, they're context. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can add more words to this or take away words if you want to. But anyway, these are meant for context. Same as all this meaning up here and this keyword. That's all context for, can you write this kanji from memory?
Yeah. That's an awesome system, honestly.
Okay, that's a production side. You could also reverse that, where it's showing you just hiragana and English, but you're actually showing you all the, I'm sorry, it's called recognition. So it's showing you all the words, but there's no hiragana, katakana, none of that. And no meanings. It's just the Japanese stuff. And then do you know roughly what that kanji means? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
I could share that with anybody. If you own the book, remember the kanji, either books 1 or 3, one or the other, I don't care. I'll give you the fucking deck for free. I don't care. Okay? I'm sharing that with everyone.
But yeah, I will definitely admit that my system for learning kanji was terrible. I could recognize them fine, but like that's the easy part. The reproduction.
That's still pretty good.
My old system was so bad. God.
Yeah. But you've seen that where it's just, for me, I think of all these kanji in parts. So like those 2 kanji I showed you, I just remember mouth, bushel basking. So I'm thinking, okay, the bushel basket on the side of the horse and the axe. So he's like actually drawing the axe, attacking, and then the horse is winning. I'm visualizing that.
Yeah, so mnemonics. I use mnemonics too.
So I'm saying so that's how quickly I can memorize it just because I was paying attention. That's how quickly it can be it. So that now here's where I'm saying about the next thing. That's if you're doing individual kanji. But for you, this probably be a little bit better, more fun than a kanji deck. Okay, so this is going to be listening and reading. So what I'm going to pay attention to is the listening. All right, so this is like a stawaru. Tsukai no news today. Internet is stawaru. So that means to convey. So it's probably like person and smoke signal. And then waru. So anyway, so this is stawaru. Here's the answer. Yeah, so, but if you look at the font, it's got the stroke order font. So like it might be hard to see, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But yeah, for you, if you want to start from the beginning and strengthen up kanji, I would say do that. Just pick maybe 4 to 6 of the most common words that use that kanji. How's that? If you want that to be a part of it. I mean, that's...
Yeah, okay. I definitely would. I only ever learn kanji in context. I used to when I didn't know any better, like maybe in the first few months. I just did like memorizing readings and like meanings. But then I quickly transitioned to just focusing on the words that I actually know that contain the kanji. And I also, on the opposite side, this is one thing that I do differently from you. I only ever learn kanji from words that I already know. So I have some sort of like
perfectly
context.
Fine. Perfectly fine. No, perfectly good. Remember the kanji, if you just do it just because of the parts that make it up, and then use the mnemonics to put the parts together. If you've already got that down, you already know the parts of the kanji, you don't need RTK. You know, you see a new kanji and you know, hey, this is a kanji I want to learn, go for it. Just, I do things a little differently. I front load the kanji, but in blocks of 500. That's the only thing I do slightly different. But what I don't worry about, I keep writing kanji. I'm mainly concerned with that with my kanji deck. So that's why I don't sweat it with the vocabulary deck. But for you, you might want to, make use of, can you write this word out from memory as a practice? But use your vocab deck but turn it into a kanji deck in a way, like if you've got audio. So or hiragana if you want to have it where it just shows a hiragana or katakana if you got it in hiragana. I don't know what your vocab deck is.
I would just need to go through my normal Japanese deck and add tags to everything that is grammar or vocab because it's all intermixed in one deck. But I have like over 9,000 cards in there that I made manually, so it'll take a long time to do all of that.
Okay.
But I'm not focused on kanji output quite yet. I got that tip from Matt vs. Japan that in the beginning you want to focus on kanji comprehension.
Recognition. Yeah.
And then you focus on kanji output.
Yeah, once I realized like it could be a little of both, because what I learned was don't worry about the pronunciation of the kanji, because that you want to get that from the words. That was the first thing. Keep the things separate. Like, hey, you just want to know how to write a kanji from memory, so fine, But what happened was with RTK was they were only using keywords. Big fucking mistake. Because later on, that's the reason why this deck was set up the way it is. It's like, well, one, you learn like multiple kanjis can have very similar meanings. So that's when I started adding the descriptions of the kanji above that. And then later on, because I was like you, I didn't want to go and like manually add in all these words I knew. So I decided to create here's a list of words that use that kanji.
Yeah, I think that is much better, personally.
Now, the original one I had was a JoYo list. It was actually a JoYo vocabulary list, which turned out sucks because JoYo is a fucking horrible, because they include kanji that nobody. So that's why I started using, hey, these are books that people read. So obviously going to contain kanji and words that people know. So that's why I decided to use that as my resource. And it actually turned out to work out just fine. So if I showed you the kanji list, you'll probably see like stuff that's in not even the JoYo kanji, but they're popping up all over the place. Because once you start, and I think you have noticed that. And there's others on the JoYo list, like the Emperor's Seal. No one gives a fuck about the Emperor's Seal. It's maybe used in the Japanese Constitution once, and then that's it. You never see it.
That's the thing. Like in official documents, they have to use the kanji from the JoYo kanji list, as far as I know.
Right, and who cares, right? You want stuff that people read, so that's why. Again, so that's why I set up in that way. It's like for you, people like you and me, who are going to be reading Japanese resources. So the kanji I've got, they're sorted, they're grouped, their groups are in frequency groups. You and we've made mistakes in learning Japanese. Now I've been learning Japanese. I started way back when. I stopped, level dropped, started back up around 4 years ago. Even then, I kind of slowly started getting back into it. But again, I knew I've made mistakes, and I'm sure you said you've made some mistakes as well. But again, you don't want to start from scratch. So now you kind of have to change what you're doing based on where you're at now. Cool. And the thing is, you got up to the level where you're, like I said, a lot of it, like with English, Russian, you get up, especially with English, you got up to a level where you can start having fun using the language. Which, if you're just learning a language for school, you're probably going to be like, your mind is going to shut it down. But when you want to learn language because you really love that fucking game, you want to play it like, because if it's anything like English, the dubs usually suck.
Actually,
no matter what.
I have a very good point about that you said, like, you learn the language because you really want to use it, right? Not just because you're forcing yourself to. I'm currently kind of at a weird crossroads with German, because even though I'm kind of getting closer to the point where I'll stop actively learning Japanese and I'll just use it in my day-to-day life. But then I don't even know if I want to get back to German, because the only real reasons I like it, the language, is because I think it sounds cool. I think the people are kind of nice, but that's kind of it. Like, I don't know what kind of content I would consume in German. I would like to visit Germany, but I'm not interested in living there. So I don't quite have that same motivation. And I'm kind of thinking, like, will I ever have a motivation for another language to study it so intensively as I did with Japanese?
Here's the thing. With Netflix, everything, you can probably find a lot of shows in German, even if they're not German shows. So you have that option.
I guess, but then it's not native content, is it? Yes,
it is. Those are native speakers speaking. Yeah. I'm saying don't put that self-imposed restriction there. Okay. Remember, what it is I wanted to watch Umbrella Academy. I did not watch it in English. I watched it in Japanese. So, same with the Titans. I wanted to watch the show, but I watched it in Japanese. Witcher, I watched that in English. But I'm saying, like, there's so many. Remember, I said I talked to you before the stream how my wife started watching American shows, and so I got interested in American shows after like 2 or 3 years of not watching anything. So I started binging, but I was binging in English. If I had just kept it in Japanese, I could have watched these awesome shows, which they are, but I would have watched them in Japanese. And so I'm saying, if you say a show you want to watch and you know enough German to enjoy it in German, fucking do it. Make sense? If you can't find a German show, find an American show that's been dubbed in Germany.
I guess. But then, like, the thing is, like, I'm mostly talking about the motivation, not the lack of content. Because like, what is the
Right.
motivation for me with Japanese? I enjoy Japanese content. I like Japanese culture. In the recent years, I've been more interested in Japanese history, stuff like that. But with Germany, I am maybe a little bit interested in the history.
Hmm.
I kind of think the people are nice. I like the sound of the language, but there isn't like any German native content that I am interested in, right? So to me, it's about the motivation. I want to have, and I think that's for pretty much anyone. Like you want to have a good reason for why you want to learn the language in the first place. And as of right now, I don't have that for anything except for
Okay.
Japanese.
Oh, let me ask you this: did you ever enjoy anime before you learned Japanese?
Yes,
But you still enjoyed it, right?
yes, but like there
So
was,
I'm saying, like,
I don't
I'm,
have that for German though. There isn't a thing in German that draws me to the culture.
well, watch anime in Germany in German.
I know, but then it's not a motivation for
Yeah.
like German stuff, right?
Right. No, I'm saying though, then maybe during the process, as your German builds up and your interest in the language builds, because you found something interesting, you might find some native material that then is also. Again, my first
Oh, I
exposure
guess
to
yeah.
okay, like I said, I mean, I didn't know anything about Japanese dramas but Katsumo, until I started to learn Japanese. I was doing anime, but I never really cared that much about anime, so that wasn't the draw that made me want to learn Japanese. Other than I was going to be moving to Japan, um, but began to love Japanese dramas once I was able to find the good ones. Finding the good ones was the hard part because most Japanese dramas suck. Did I look good? Yeah, yeah. Like a lot of animes suck. Also, I mean, just there's this.
Yeah,
It's like in the
yeah.
It's like in the U.S. There's, you get the cream of the crop, but you realize like, holy crap, there's a lot of just horrible stuff being
I
produced.
guess uh,
Um,
I guess you have a good point because like even with Japanese, um, like I only recently finally found the YouTube content because I've been searching for a long time for YouTube content in Japanese that I enjoyed, and I only recently was finally able to find that.
and and it's very famous. Not you, probably not you personally, but Harry Potter is a book people grew up with as a children and enjoyed. I was a young adult when it came out, but I had fun reading that in Japanese and some others. That's probably like some people's first book is Harry Potter, and it's probably a very bad book to be your first book in Japanese. But it's just something that they treat it like a challenge and they had fun doing it. So again, I'm just offering suggestions. You come at me with a problem, right? So that's the reason why I'm offering up suggestions.
But yeah, I'll definitely check out a lot of these like ideas you're sharing. I've also had I get a lot of ideas from everyone. Like I've gotten many tips from Steve Kaufman, from Matt vs Japan, from you now, and from various people I've met in person as well. And I've just kind of, I guess, ended up with my own way of studying that's good for me. And I'm always open to like improving the quality of my studying time, I guess.
Yeah.
Although I don't really call it studying anymore.
Last
It's just using
last
Japanese.
suggestion, since you're at the intermediate to advanced stages, is you probably already know about learning languages with Netflix or similar. There's Voracious Video Player, and I think Lucas or Yoga Pants. He's yoga. Sorry, yoga, not Yoga Pants. He's making a video player himself. That again, the idea is, you saw how I did with Attack on Titan. Like you can read it. So yeah, they're making video players that but having items that are useful for language learners. Does that make sense?
I guess I'll
Have
look
you
into
seen
that too.
Have you seen that Learn Languages with Netflix?
No. What is
Okay, and there's also Learn Languages with YouTube. As long as there's Japanese subtitles, it works. I think you'll like it. I think you will really like it. So,
that?
yeah.
There's
You
actually a
might.
channel I know where they put subtitles on almost everything. They do it as like a stylistic choice, but they almost subtitle everything they say.
Now, if it's subtitled in the video, that's not going to help. But if it's like got the subtitles on the YouTube text subtitles, I think it works with that.
Wait, are you
It's
saying
just
Japanese subtitles?
yeah.
Okay. Just so
or
we're on the
any
same page.
subtitles. Actually, it's any subtitles. So in our case, though, we're like in your case, is either Germany or German or Japanese. So you've got that option. And again, you can. So there's the subtitles playing. You can highlight a word, so you see the definition of the word. You can copy out the sentence, and it can copy out the sentence with the audio. So you got to Anki even. So now you got you have a very quickly made vocabulary deck being made that way of words that you care about learning. And there's some other tricks that we're going to be using, I'm sure. Have you heard of Morphman?
Morphman? No.
Okay, so Morphman it's a text analyzer, so but it scans your Anki deck for stuff you've already studied. So it's looking at, and it looks at that, so that it assumes that you know those words because you've studied it, right? And it's been passed. And so it creates a vocabulary list, a database of your known words. And now that becomes a very powerful tool. Let's say if you've got voracious, or not voracious, let's say that yoga makes it to where with that list, it'll only show you subtitles in Japanese if that sentence has a word you don't know. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So if it says, hey, you should know all the words in a sentence, I'm not going to show you the subtitle. So you're forcing listening for words that you should know, and it's just going to show you subtitles for words you likely don't know. Mm-hmm. How would you like a system like that?
I don't know. Personally, I don't think it would be for me, but I can definitely.
Oh yeah, that's right. I get it. You don't actually watch TVs with subtitles, right?
Yeah, I watch everything raw.
Right. But imagine if, because it has a list from your Anki deck of words you likely know, a sentence pop up that's like, oh yeah, and then it's, oh yeah, I didn't know that anyway. Okay, cool. So it just saves you the effort.
I can see how that would be very useful.
That doesn't exist. That was just my idea. I haven't really shared it with him, but it's just that's the power of, because you already have an Anki deck of stuff you've studied, we can scan that and get a list of words you likely know and use that then with other programs to, especially with subtitles, where you want to keep it as audio as much as possible, but when it thinks, hey, you probably don't know what this word is, it pops the subtitle up. And that might even make you aware of, oh, there might be something in that. You might even realize that you didn't know it, because you do that sometimes, right? You pass over words you don't know. Or also what it does is it will show the subtitles. It pauses at the end of each subtitle, but it doesn't show you the subtitles. It just pauses at the end and to let you kind of catch up and then keep going. So it's slowing it down enough or you can replay it, but it replays it sentence by sentence. So you don't have to go back with the time bar. Again, it's going to do it automatically for you based on when the sentence starts, because that's the power of subtitles. They have a start time and a stop time, and they have text. Okay, you're looking tired. It's I know it's, what is it?
Oh yeah, sorry. I just woke up at 4 a.m. because I'm trying to sleep Japanese
early class.
time.
It's like lunchtime also for you right now. So, right?
Well, for me, it should be getting closer to dinner time, because I'm sleeping Japanese time.
Oh yeah.
I woke up at 4 a.m.
Okay.
Because of my Japanese university.
Okay. Hopefully that helps. And again, suggestions are suggestions. They're free.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was very, very helpful. And
thank you, by the way, because again, we're at the same level. You just work harder than I do, so like everyone's catching up to me.
I don't know about that. I'm just enjoying it, the process. That's it.
Yeah,
and my main message to anyone.
Let me compliment you, goddammit.
Oh yeah, sorry.
You're doing a damn good job. You got a very good YouTube channel. You got a good following. You make a good product. So, I mean, I know you're saying you're starting your Patreon. So, again, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this may be a good gentleman to support. And I'm sure he's like most of us. Like, as he's going along, he's figuring out stuff and finding what works for him. He shares that, which, because of the idea, it may work for somebody else. And it saves you the effort, and, you don't make the mistakes he makes. That's kind of like a lot of what us language learners are doing when we come out on this stuff. We're not saying our way is the only way, just that this way was working for us, and hopefully you can benefit from that.
Yeah, that's very important for me. Like, I kind of used to be like that I used to go by this idea that, like, there is a good way of studying a foreign language, but I've really kind of strayed away from that. I read a book that's behind me called um, oh, something Fluent Forever by Gabriel Weiner. And
Hmm.
in this book, like he gives a lot of good advice, but like he presents it as if this is the way to study a foreign language. And that was also kind of something that I didn't really like about AJAD and MIA, that they presented as like, this is the way. If you don't study this way, you're not going to be fluent, right? And I don't really like that approach personally. I think based on like my experience and talking to other people, I think there is going to be a perfect way for a specific person. So my way is maybe close to what would be perfect for me, right? There are still a lot of things I could improve, but it's my way, right? And I don't
Hey,
expect
you know where
everyone
it
else to
itches.
study that way.
You're the best person who knows where it itches.
Yeah, and so yeah, my message to people is like, try to find a way of learning that works for you, and enjoy the process. Most importantly, don't. I've seen like a lot of people talk about how they're like stressed about not doing enough. You should just enjoy the process and take it at your own pace. Just as long as you're consistently studying the language, and it doesn't have to be like hours upon hours a day, right? As long as you're just consistently doing it, you will get to a good result, whatever your goal is.
I would add in also though background audio. Having Japanese playing all the time, the small bits throughout the day that you pay attention, that turns it into passive or even active time,
Yeah.
listening time. So that's another way. Because again, you're not like me where I can live in Japan. So that's the reason why my reading's so good, because I can see Japanese all over the place. But my listening wasn't where it should be, because I'm not engaged in conversations or trying to pay attention to what I'm hearing. Because I get distracted by the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just have fun, keep studying time, and then have fun in the language. Like I think, like you said, you're in search of something fun to do in that language. As you said, and then then you wanted to learn more because you wanted to enjoy the show more, or you wanted to enjoy the game more, or just because, hey, by doing it, you were learning, you were learning through the enjoyment process, which again is a win. Thank you very much. Any final words? Okay, I think that's it.
Yeah, thank you very much for the stream. Thank you for having
All right,
me.
I'm gonna end the stream. I'm gonna end the stream right here. So again, check out his channel. This is Nukemarine. If you'd like to support the Patreon, links down below as well. And well, tomorrow I'll be doing hopefully I'll be doing the next live stream of Let's Read Japanese with Attack on Titan. Shingeki no Kyojin. All right,
Thank you,
later.
everyone.
All right,
Goodbye.